My girlfriend canceled our wedding for the fourth time. Just need more space. I said, take all you need. Then I finally left by changing my number and moving to the Maldives. She was desperately calling friends when she realized more space meant no more me. The restaurant was Marina's pick, of course. Dim lighting, velvet chairs, soft jazz humming in the background. The kind of place where the menu didn't list prices and waiters refilled your wine glass before it was even empty. She had that careful smile on her face the whole time, the one she used when she was trying to manage a situation before it started. I knew something was coming. We were 2 weeks out, 2 weeks from our supposed forever. I had the guest list saved on my phone, knew the schedule for the florist, and had just dropped a final deposit for the horse-drawn carriage Marina insisted on for the photos. Not that I ever cared about that carriage. She looked stunning. She always did. Soft waves in her hair, that gold necklace I bought her in Charleston. She reached across the table and placed her hand over mine like it was a casual, tender moment. I've been thinking, she said gently, voice wrapped in sugar. Here it comes. I'm not sure this is the right time to go through with the wedding. I stared at her hand for a moment. Her nails were done in soft pink. Perfect as always. Oh, I said. I reached for my wine. I need some more time. Mentally, emotionally. I want to make sure I'm really centered before we step into something so permanent. The fourth time. For cancellations in 5 years. Each one wrapped in some new flavor of self-reflection. I'd heard them all before. I just want to feel sure. I need to grow a little more. I can't explain it, but I know I'll know when I'm ready. I smiled. Take all the time you need. She blinked. Really? Of course, I said. I even squeezed her hand. Inside, something went quiet. Not shattered, not cracked, just off, like a switch flipped. I smiled through the rest of the meal, joked about the soup being too salty, even toasted to her clarity. But I was already gone. That night, when she fell asleep on the couch watching a rerun of The Crown, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, phone in hand. By midnight, I'd already booked the ticket, one way, window seat, Maldives. No confrontation, no shouting match, just silence. She asked for time, again, and this time, I was finally going to give it to her, all of it. The sky was still dark when I slipped out of bed. The floor was cold against my feet, but I didn't flinch. I moved quietly, like muscle memory, like I'd done this before, only this time, I wasn't going to the gym or catching an early train. This time, I was leaving. I didn't bother turning on the light. I already knew what I needed. 2 suitcases sat side by side in the closet, one filled with my clothes, chargers, toiletries. The other held photographs, a couple of notes Marina had written me back when we still left notes, a brass cufflink she'd gifted me for our 2-year anniversary. I didn't even like cufflinks, but I took it. In the bathroom, I folded a sticky note and placed it gently on her vanity tray next to her rosewater toner and gold hairpins. You wanted more time. Now you have all of it. I'm done, Jay. I didn't sign it with love. I didn't need to. By 6:15 a.m., I was locking the door behind me for the last time. I stood there for a second in the hallway, listening. Nothing. No footsteps. No last-minute pleadings. Just the quiet whir of someone's dryer down the hall. Leo was already waiting in the driveway when I stepped outside. He didn't say anything at first, just gave me that look, part confusion, part understanding, mostly concern. I slid into the passenger seat. You sure about this? He asked. Yeah, you want me to? I already booked the flight. Just need a ride to the airport. He nodded. What about the car? Sell it. Titles in the glove box. Take 10% for yourself. Leo gave a low whistle. She's gonna lose it. Maybe, I said. Or maybe she won't even notice for a while. I had already transferred most of my savings into an offshore account a couple of days ago. Opened a new SIM card under a different name. Cleared my digital footprints from our shared calendar. It wasn't hard. You learn to prepare for endings when someone keeps stalling the beginning. At the airport, Leo helped me unload the bags. He didn't try to stop me. He just clapped me on the back once. You really done? He asked. I nodded. This time, yeah. He pulled me in for a hug. Rare. For him, then got back in the car and drove off. The Maldives ticket in my hand felt heavier than it should have. I glanced once at my phone, still on airplane mode. No missed calls. No texts. Not yet. She'd wake up in a few hours. Find the note. Maybe panic. Maybe not. But it wouldn't matter. By the time my flight took off, I was somewhere above the clouds with a half-finished whiskey in my hand, watching the world shrink below me. It felt like a confession, a release, a quiet kind of revenge. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I just vanished. The villa sat above the ocean like something out of a magazine I'd never let myself buy. Pale wood, billowing curtains, endless blue water in every direction. When I stepped barefoot onto the deck that first afternoon, the silence was louder than anything I'd heard in years. I slept for 2 days straight. No alarm, no meetings, no dress shirts hanging on the door. Just me, the sea, and a slow exhale that didn't stop until the second morning when I finally opened my eyes and didn't feel like running. Room service brought strong coffee and fresh fruit every morning. I started taking my laptop out onto the deck around noon. There was no rush. I only picked the clients I like. Remote consulting was easy when you didn't have to pretend anymore. My phone, now with a new number, buzzed once a day. A single text from Leo with a short update. Leo, she called 10 times yesterday. Leo, Camille's asking where you are. I said, alive. That's all they get. Leo, you'd think the world ended. They don't get it. I never replied. but I read every one. Late in the afternoon, I would swim out into the open water, float on my back, and stare up at the sky until I forgot what week it was. Some mornings I forgot I'd ever had a wedding planned at all. One day, Leo texted again. Leo, she's spiraling, crying to her sister, freaking out. She says she doesn't understand why you didn't wait for her. I was sitting on a sunbed with a cocktail in hand when I read it. Some fruity, overpriced thing with a slice of lime and a tiny umbrella. I laughed, not hard, just enough to feel it in my chest. I sent one line back. Me. She asked for time. I gave it to her. That was all I said. I didn't check the news. Didn't peek at her Instagram. I didn't need to. I knew Marina. This was the part where she'd try to reverse the gears. Try to fix what she thought she could still control. But I wasn't part of the machinery anymore. She wanted mental clarity. She got it. Now she had all the time in the world. And none of me. By week 3, Leo's updates got weird. Leo, Camille's telling people you abandoned Marina with no warning. Leo, now she's saying you had a breakdown, that you're unstable. Leo, they're turning this into some tragic betrayal. I should have seen it coming. Marina was never the type to admit a loss. Not publicly. Especially not one that made her look like the problem. So instead of admitting she delayed a wedding 4 times, she pivoted. In her version, I left out of nowhere. In her version, I was the man who cracked under pressure, not the one who packed in silence after 5 years of waiting. She's posting vague stories, Leo said over a call one night. Quotes about unhealed trauma and emotional abandoners. He snorted. She tagged a therapist and everything. I sat on the deck, watching the waves slap the stilts beneath me. She'll keep talking, I said. Let her. It didn't take long for the gossip to spread. Old friends texted me out of nowhere, half concerned, half curious. Hey man, just heard about what happened. You okay? She said you vanished without a word. What's going on? Camille said you might need help. You good? I didn't reply. Let them stew. Meanwhile, back in LA, the unraveling had begun. The lease on our loft had been under my name. I'd paid 6 months ahead, anticipating a honeymoon. Once I was gone, I closed it out clean, notified the landlord, cleared the account. So when the 6th week hit and Marina was still living there like the queen of a ghost castle, the landlord knocked on the door. She refused to pay. Leo told me, said you'd handle it. I showed him the signed notice. Her name's not on the lease. And she got a warning to vacate. Camille called it emotional abuse. I chuckled. Of the financial variety? Exactly. She was evicted by the end of the week. Leo sent me a photo of the building, the window where her plants used to be, now empty. I didn't say a word. There was nothing left to explain. I had made my exit clean. Like a surgeon cutting away route with precision. I didn't ghost her. I freed her. But instead of gratitude, she dragged my name through every brunch table and group chat she could. It didn't matter. The people who mattered saw the truth. The loft was clean. The bills were settled. The flight was booked on my own card. I'd left her everything except myself. Marina was spiraling, and every twist of the story only made her look worse. The louder she got, the quieter I became. And that silence? It made people curious. Because people who burn everything down don't usually walk away that calm. But I did, and it terrified her. It started with a text. Marina, we need to talk about the wedding fund. I didn't answer right away. I was waist deep in warm ocean water, sipping from a coconut, listening to the tide roll over my ankles. A sea turtle poked its head up maybe 20 feet away. It stared at me like it knew something. When I finally opened the message, there were 3 more waiting. Marina, I think it's only fair that I get my share. Marina, I put emotional energy into this too. Marina, please be mature about this. I don't want drama. I almost laughed. The wedding fund, the one I had opened 5 years ago, under my name, funded almost entirely by me, with a few generous contributions from family and friends. She'd always referred to it as our cushion, like it belonged to both of us by default. Now she wanted half. Instead of replying, I opened my banking app. Then I started writing thank you notes. Not to Marina, not to Camille, not to anyone in her circle, but to every person who had written a check or Venmoed a gift or sent in a little envelope marked for the honeymoon fund. I refunded every single one, every penny. Attached a short message. The wedding has been permanently canceled. I've chosen to return your generous gift, as it was never used. Thank you for your kindness. Julian. Some responded with polite shock. A few with heartfelt notes. One of Marina's cousins even wrote, honestly, good for you. I left Marina out of it completely. No grand announcement, no public statement, just quiet reversal. The fallout didn't take long. Leo, Camille just called me screeching. Said you financially betrayed Marina. Me, didn't know a refund was betrayal. Leo, apparently it is as if she expected to skim off the top. Camille started her usual campaign. He's being petty. He's obsessed with control. He wants to humiliate her, but I didn't say a word. I didn't argue. I didn't even respond to Marina's follow-up messages. Marina, you had no right to make that decision alone. Marina, that money wasn't just yours, but it was. And even if it hadn't been, she was never going to use it for anything but leverage. So I burned the bridge, politely, neatly. She thought I'd cave, thought I'd feel guilty enough to negotiate, or nostalgic enough to give in. But I wasn't that man anymore. She wanted emotional compensation. She could go ask Todd. That's what she chose, after all. The letter arrived in a manila envelope. No return address, but the stamp gave it away, downtown LA, Standard postage. Real attorney. I didn't open it right away. I let it sit on the small teak table outside my villa while I finished my coffee. The breeze was warm. A white bird landed on the railing nearby and stared at me like it had questions. Eventually, I peeled the flap back. The first page was a formal letterhead. From the office of Gerald Vasari, ESQ. Who the hell was Gerald Vasari? I skimmed the first paragraph. Legal jargon. Then I hit the line that made me choke on my espresso. On behalf of my client, Ms. Marina Ellis, we are seeking compensation for emotional distress, financial disruption, and de facto spousal support. I laughed out loud. Alone, she'd found a lawyer, or at least someone pretending to be one. There were more claims. Unjust withholding of shared wedding assets. Refusal to reimburse for emotional contributions. Joint ownership over property purchased during the engagement. We never even lived in a house we bought together. The closest thing we shared was a vintage record player. I left it behind. There was one line that actually used the phrase psychological abandonment. I took a picture of the letter and sent it to Leo. Me, guess who wants spousal support? Leo, you're kidding. Me, dead serious. Mr. Vasari says I emotionally destabilized her public image. Leo, oh my god. I wasn't worried, but I wasn't going to let it hang either. So I called Serena Yates. We went to college together. She had once made a tenured professor cry in open court. She didn't lose cases. She didn't even like cases unless they were personal. I was hoping you'd call, she said. I saw the wedding photos disappear from Marina's profile 2 weeks ago. Figured something juicy was coming. I sent her everything. Receipts, screenshots, the calendar changes, even the flight I booked before Marina postponed again. Within 24 hours, she had a formal reply drafted, laced with polite threats. My client has preserved substantial evidence of Ms. Ellis's repeated cancellations, including her documented statements asking for time and space. Any further action will result in a countersuit for defamation, harassment, and frivolous litigation. We didn't even have to send it twice. 2 days later, Mr. Vasari sent a single sentence. My client wishes to withdraw her initial complaint at this time. No apology, no explanation, just silence. Cowards, Serena muttered. She was bluffing. Classic manipulator playbook. Scream legal. Hope he folds. She didn't know I'd lawyer up, I said. She didn't know you were done, she corrected. I closed the laptop and leaned back in the sun. Somewhere in the distance, a boat drifted past, tiny against the horizon. I wasn't angry. I wasn't shaken. I wasn't even surprised. The last thread was cut, and it barely twitched. She tried to use the law like a weapon. I used it like a shield. And once again, she learned what it looked like when I stopped playing. It started with vague booking. You know the kind, black background, white text, dramatic quotes. Some people will show you their true colors when they think you're too broken to fight back. Abandonment isn't love. It's cowardice. No names. No tags. But the timing? Obvious. The tone? Precision engineered for pity. Mutual friends began messaging me. Some were confused. Hey, man, I just saw Marina's post. Did something happen? She said she was left alone at the altar. Is that true? She's going through it. You sure you're okay? I didn't panic. I didn't post back. I didn't start a war on the timeline. I wrote a blog post instead. It wasn't flashy. No anger. No accusations. Just facts. Quiet. Clear. Dated. I told the story, the real story, from start to finish. Every canceled wedding, every pause for clarity. The night she asked for more time, and I gave it, all of it. I included screenshots, dates, the refund letters I'd sent to our would-be guests, a PDF of the calendar with the original wedding dates and her notes marked, postpone again, not ready. At the end, I added a single line. She asked for space. So I gave her a continent. Then I sent the link. Not publicly, just directly. Every friend who messaged. Every old coworker who asked. Every cousin who dared to say, she seems really hurt. I gave them the same response. Here's what happened. If you still want to believe her version, that's your choice. Some didn't reply, but some did. I had no idea. Damn, you handled this like a saint. She's been making you the villain in group chats for weeks. Not anymore. Even Camille went quiet. The relentless texts, the passive-aggressive digs, all vanished like someone had cut the internet cable. I didn't need applause. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted the noise to stop. And once the truth was out, it did. Marina's posts got quieter. No more tragic quotes. Just travel photos with empty captions and stiff smiles. I could almost hear her trying to spin a new story. But the damage was done. The sympathy had dried up. All I did was show the truth. No yelling, no name calling, just facts. And in the end, the truth was louder than all her whispers. The call didn't come to me directly. It went to my parents' house in Scottsdale. My mom picked up thinking it was one of her book club friends. But when she heard the voice on the other end, she nearly dropped the phone. Jolene, she asked, is something wrong? Marina's mother was crying. I don't know what to do, she sobbed. He just left. He didn't even say goodbye. My mom listened, polite as always, until Jolene said the real reason she called. I need you to talk to him, please. He respects you. He listens to you. My mother didn't raise her voice. She didn't even take a breath. She just said, calmly and clearly, he gave her everything. She chose delay. He chose peace. Goodbye. And hung up. She called me that night. I got a call today, she said. Yeah, I replied, already knowing. she begged. Said Marina hasn't been eating. Camille moved her into the guest house. It's all unraveling. I stayed quiet. Just listened to the crickets chirping outside my room. The water was glassy that night, like a mirror too smooth to touch. I told her the truth, Mom said. I told her I wasn't getting in the way of your peace. For the first time in a long time, I felt proud to be her son. That was the last anyone in my family heard from Jolie. Marina didn't reach out again. Not through a message. Not through a friend. Nothing. According to Leo, she barely left the house. Camille was playing hostess/bodyguard. She's miserable, he said, but she keeps pretending she's healing. Crystals, sound baths, all that influencer crap. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel anything. I stayed in the Maldives for a few more weeks. Got a tan, swam every morning, consulted with clients who only knew me by my first name and invoice number. Then I left. Peru was next, a place I'd always wanted to hike but never made time for. After that, Portugal, a small coastal town with cheap wine, fast Wi-Fi, and no one asking me if I was ready to reschedule my life. I didn't post photos. I didn't announce my journey. I just lived. Every day, I walked further from that version of me. The groom who waited too long. The man who said, take your time, even when it killed him inside. Marina stayed exactly where I left her. Still sitting in the shadow of the life we never lived. Still trying to make the waiting look noble. But I didn't block the memories anymore. I just didn't need them. She asked for time. Now she lives in it. Alone. Somewhere in the Andes, about halfway up a dusty trail that smelled like sunburn and eucalyptus, I stopped to catch my breath. A pack of hikers passed me, laughing in German. I didn't say anything, just stood there, hands on hips, staring at the cloud line. And for the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about Marina. Not the cancellations. Not the dresses we never used. Not the apology she never gave. Just wind and space and the kind of silence that didn't feel like punishment. Back then, I thought peace would feel like justice. Like some big, dramatic, I told you so. But it doesn't. It feels like nothing. It feels like no one waiting on you to fix something they broke. It feels like not flinching when you hear your name in a group chat. It feels like finally not needing to explain yourself. From Peru, I went to Lisbon, rented a tiny studio above a bakery that made fresh pastillas de nata every morning, worked 3 days a week, walked the beach at sunset, drank espresso at a pace Marina would have called lazy. I made new friends, real ones. People who didn't ask me what went wrong. They just asked if I wanted another glass of wine. Marina stayed in the past. I heard through Leo that she stopped posting. Camille deleted a bunch of their Healing Sisterhood content. The engagement ring never went back to the jeweler. She kept it, apparently, as a reminder. A reminder of what? I don't know. I don't follow her. I don't check. Not because I'm above it, but because I truly don't care. Healing doesn't come with a grand announcement. No final monologue. No dramatic camera pan. It just creeps in, day by day, until you realize your shoulders don't stay clenched anymore. Until you catch yourself laughing in a new country, in a new life, and it doesn't feel like escape. It just feels normal. I never needed Marina to crash and burn. I just needed to stop sitting in the ashes waiting for her to feel ready. She wanted more time, so I left her with it. Now she lives in it, stuck, spiraling, still trying to make sense of what she lost. Me? I live in motion, in sunrises, in quiet mornings with no apologies owed. This wasn't revenge. It was release, and I never looked back.